Look closely at these peaks. Did you know they once rested at the bottom of an ancient ocean? Or that the steel cables beneath our fingers were forged in a vertical hell where soldiers fought for survival? The very trees around us have been hidden foundations of Venice for centuries, and the wind through these valleys still carries the echoes of thousands of years of human history. Welcome to the Dolomites in Italy, where the past never truly faded. We're preparing for our adventure. We're going to climb our way up to Refugio Santner Pass, a mountain hut perched high on top of the Rosengarten Massif in the Dolomites. We'll get there via the Santner Pass Via Ferrata. We rented our gear at the Carezza sports rental shop for 2 days, because we'll be spending the night at the Refugio. Our backpacks are packed with only the bare essentials: clean underwear, a toothbrush, an extra layer for wind and rain, sunscreen, and slippers, since you're not allowed to wear outer shoes inside the hut. We start our mountain journey at the Paolina chairlift, which brings us up to about 2,125 meters. From here, we begin a gentle hike along the steep mountain slopes on a clear but rocky path. It's early in the morning, but the sun is already burning. These first 2 kilometers are not part of the Via Ferrata yet, but it's the fastest and easiest route from the main parking lot where we left our camper to the trailhead. Along the way, we pass many people enjoying this peaceful hike. A beautiful mix of languages resound around us: French, English, Spanish, and of course, the local languages: Italian, German, and sometimes a true echo of the past: Ladin, with Bundi. This is an ancient Retro-Roman language native to these valleys, barely spoken anymore. Only about 30 to 40,000 people still speak it today. Once, Ladin was the most widely spoken language in the Alp region. The language dates back to 15 BC, but it mostly disappeared as the German and Italian tribes arrived and literally pushed the Ladin culture away. Only in the deep, isolated, and most inhospitable valleys did the Ladin people survive. The valley we just took the gondola from, Val Gardena, was one of them. The high surrounding mountains formed a perfect natural shield against assimilation. This plateau, the Alpe di Siusi, which is now loved for its scenic views, was once the gathering place for farmers. Every spring, they climbed the steep slopes with their decorated cows to celebrate the new season. This landscape still breathes the hard work of those farmers, who stayed here all summer long, mowing the grass entirely by hand to collect hay for the tough and brutal winters ahead. The iconic wooden sheds scattered across the meadows were once filled to the brim with that hay, often doubling as temporary places for the farmers to sleep. Today, this valley is a monument to the hard labor and survival. And in the distance, the peaks of the Rosengarten Massif are looming, right where we are currently facing our own challenge. We continue our journey. This is where the Santner Pass Via Ferrata truly begins, starting with a short but steep incline, a perfect warm-up for what's to come. The trail continues gradually, but soon the terrain turns more rugged. Today, we're doing the Santner Pass Klettersteig. And we're at the beginning, but we already climbed up pretty steep climb, so we're tired.
Beat up now.
I feel exhausted already. And we're just getting started. Yay! Okay, I think we can see the trail in front of us right now. I think we have to go here and then all the way up there. Somewhere over this ridge. This is gonna be fun. scramble up the first few meters as the limestone gets wilder and sharper. Before we know it, we're gripping the rock faces tightly, pulling ourselves up the steep mountainside. With the drops growing deeper beneath us, we squeeze through narrow cracks that challenge our strength. We're steadily pushing forwards, aiming for the summit at 2,734 meters. Yet, these jagged peaks haven't always towered high above the clouds. The dangerous rocks we hold onto, the ones supporting our feet, were once peaceful coral reefs at the bottom of an ancient ocean. As you might remember from your geology lessons at school, mountains are usually formed when two tectonic plates crash into each other, forcing the earth upward through immense pressure. But not these mountains. They get their sharp, rugged appearance because they were literally growing. This particular mountain range we're looking at right now, the Santner Massif, standing at the edge of the Karersee, is a geological treasure, being one of the best preserved fossilized coral reefs on the planet. Around 240 million years ago, during the Middle Triassic, this was a vibrant, shallow reef in the Tethys Ocean. As the ocean floor slowly sank, the coral kept reaching upward, growing toward the light. These sheer gray walls are not just ordinary mountains. They are fossilized structures built entirely by ancient algae and coral polyps. We're heading toward another icon of the Val Gardena, the Seceda Ridge. Millions of years ago, this entire region lay near the equator, resembling a tropical ocean much like today's Bahamas. We slowly ascend into the clouds that the peaks are hiding in. Although once a tropical ocean, the peace didn't last. Underwater volcanoes erupted, spewing millions of tons of black ash over the coral reefs. As the clouds slowly lift, we can see the dark volcanic layers alternating with the light limestone at the bottom. Around 30 million years ago, tectonic forces changed everything. The African plate slammed into Europe, pushing the flat ocean floor thousands of meters into the air. At Seceda, the impact was so violent that the seabed snapped and tilted. This sloping green meadow we're walking on today is that original ocean floor, and the vertical abyss is the exact line where the ground tore open. We jump forward in time to the last ice age, 10,000 years ago. You might wonder why these peaks aren't just called the Limestone Alps. Why the Dolomites? It all comes down to a chemical wonder from the deep past. As the Tethys Ocean slowly evaporated, magnesium transformed the soft limestone into a new, incredibly hard rock, dolomite. As we reach the end of our trail, the reward is the breathtaking, magical, milky blue water of Lago di Sorapiss. This otherworldly color is the beautiful inheritance of that ancient ocean. High above, the Sorapiss glacier looms over the peaks. Under its immense weight, the shifting ice crushes the dolomite rock into an ultra-fine powder called rock flour. Floating in the water, these tiny particles only reflect blue and green colors, creating this intense light blue color. What once was water became stone, and now stone is becoming water once again. If you're not subscribed to our channel yet, we would love to welcome you to our community. And if you liked the video, please leave a thumbs up. It's a completely free way to support us. The trail becomes more vertical, the rocks become more rugged, and there's no longer a sense of a path. We're climbing on the bare rocks, increasing the risk of an unforgiving fall. And that means that the first iron cables come in sight that will mark the rest of the way. The real mountain climbing starts now as we enter the most challenging part of the Via Ferrata. You don't conquer a mountain like this, you surrender to it. You must trust its grip to hold you, and in return it carries you safely to the summit. There is no room for distraction. Every step becomes a conscious decision. Our fingers grasp onto the cold limestone, searching for a solid grip. Our boots search for stability. We hear nothing but our heavy breathing and tiny rocks falling down into the abyss every step we take. But the steel cables that secure us and that we firmly hold on to have a dark and unsettling history. We're heading up to the Cinque Torri, an otherworldly rock formation in the heart of the Dolomites that holds the echo of one of the darkest periods in history. In 1915, Italy declared the war on Austria-Hungary and quickly captured this place because of its strategic location, offering a 360-degree view of the surrounding mountains. It became their most important artillery and command post. Between these massive rocks, they built a complete village with wooden huts, trenches, and gun batteries, using the stone as a natural barrier against their enemy. Their artillery was at all times pointing toward the opposite mountain, Lagazuoi, where the Austrian-Hungary army was stationed. But at a distance of over 5 kilometers from the enemy lines, ordinary rifles were useless. Instead, this mountain became a stage for monstrous artillery. The Italians dragged massive, heavy cannons up these rocks, firing devastating shells across the valley. The Austrian-Hungarians fought back with elite snipers who targeted the soldiers who dared to load and fire the cannons. It was a terrifying, long-distance battle. Yet, the weapons weren't their truest enemy. The harsh conditions of Mother Nature were. The winter of 1916 went into the history books as one of the coldest ever recorded, with temperatures plummeting down to minus 30 degrees. The wind howled through the narrow stone corridors, trapping the men in the frozen hell. Every supply had to be dragged up these cliffs by hand, through the deep snow and blinding blizzards. They didn't just hold a military position. They endured a daily test of human survival, completely at the mercy of this mighty mountain. The next day, we find ourselves at the summit of Lagazuoi, nearly 2,800 meters high, a place the soldiers called the Roof of Hell. During the brutal winter of 1916, 10 meters of snow buried this top, leaving the soldiers shivering in waterlogged uniforms that froze solid to their skin. It completely covered the deep trenches that sliced through the mountain peak, where today the rusty barbed wire still clings to the stone. But the true horror was lurking underneath their boots. That winter, the Austrian-Hungarian soldiers started hearing the ghost of the mountain. Deep inside the rock, the Italians were digging upward. Strange rhythmic sounds echoed through the stone. The only way to escape being blown into the sky was to dive straight into the heart of the rock themselves. They began a desperate underground race against time, digging counter-tunnels to blow up the enemy before they could reach the surface. It was the start of one of the most surreal conflicts in history, the War of the Mines. Today, we descend into the Italian tunnel, witnessing the bizarre claustrophobic reality they lived in. In the pitch-black corridors, the air was thick with the stench of oil, sweat, and explosives. There was no heating, barely any food, and every drop of water had to be melted from ice contaminated with soot. To move troops and heavy supplies across these sheer vertical cliffs and tunnels, soldiers hammered the very first iron lines, steel ladders, and cables into the rock faces. They called it Via Ferrata, the iron bath. This sport we know today wasn't invented for adventure. It was forged out of the sheer desperation and the raw necessity of war. Today we're descending along this very Via Ferrata the Italian soldiers made. Imagine working in here for months on end, with barely any daylight. Only the few openings blasted into the rock faces gave the soldiers a sense of still being alive, and that an outside world still existed. Through some of these holes, you can catch a glimpse of the Cinque Torri, their only way to communicate through lights with their comrades. After a long, dark descent, we finally step back into daylight. The paths we climb today for fun, to challenge ourselves and feel free in nature, were carved a century ago out of sheer desperation. As we grip the cold steel, we're not just holding on to a climbing route. We are touching the remains of a war that permanently reshaped these peaks. As we take a step around the corner, we see people standing at the top. With tired legs and heavy arms, we finally made it to the beautiful Refugio Santner Passo. The first thing we want to do is take off our shoes, go straight to our room, and sit down for the first time in hours. This bed felt like the best bed we've ever laid down on. But it's almost 7, so we have to go downstairs. The booking of this Refugio comes with a 4-course vegetarian dinner, and we are absolutely starving. The views from the large panoramic windows are stunning as the evening sets in. As the sun turns golden and caresses the peaks in the distance, everyone jumps up and heads out to the terrace just to witness the sun sinking behind the purple mountains. For us, being here with like-minded people, leaving the crowds far behind and finding places like this, that is what we truly love. You could say it's a sheer contrast with Venice, one of the most touristy cities in Italy. The city is famous for its breathtaking architecture and the hundreds of canals cutting through the streets where you can take a romantic gondola ride. Most tourists stay in the south of Venice, close to Piazza San Marco, Palazzo Ducali, and the Ponte dei Sospiri, the Bridge of Sighs. And don't get me started on the overcrowded Rialto Bridge. The well-known squares and alleys are completely packed, and there's almost no sign of quiet around here. Unless you know where to look. Once we wander deeper into its heart, we discover a quieter, more authentic Venice. Here, we often find ourselves walking the alleys completely alone, and every once in a while, a lost gondola gliding by with a singing gondolier. Right here, in these hidden corners, is where we captured our favorite photos of Venice. A fascinating fact is that the very foundation of this floating city stands on the trees from the Dolomites. Millions of wooden piles were driven deep into the mud centuries ago to support these heavy stone houses. The very trees from the mountains we just climbed are holding up the streets we are walking on now. As the evening falls, the pastel-colored buildings become even more vibrant under the golden light of the setting sun. But the arrival of darkness doesn't mean there is nothing left to see. The pitch-black nights at the Santner Pass Refugio hold another spectacular sight to behold. So we're outside. Gonna make some pictures and you see nothing right now, but believe me, we have an incredible view in front of us with a very nice starry night. The lack of light pollution gives us an amazing view on the starry night sky and even a glimpse of the Milky Way. In the chilly morning, we once again stand at the beginning of a long journey. We descend through the same route as we came up, so we put our helmets back on and prepare ourselves mentally for the next challenge. The climb back down was another adventure that we truly enjoyed. And although our journey almost ends here, the story of these places remain. We came to climb, to witness the breathtaking views, and to immerse ourselves in the culture and history that shaped these landscapes. The world is full of beauty, but it truly comes to life when you stop to listen to its past. Suddenly, a landscape is no longer just a scenery. It becomes a living story. For us, travel is not just vacation. We want to experience, to learn, and most of all, to capture our memories. That is why we never leave without our cameras. These photos and videos hold our memories, our own history, a story that we can now share with you. Because when you truly understand where you're standing, the world becomes infinitely more beautiful. So this is our invitation to you. Explore deeper, feel fully, and capture your memories. In the next video, we take you across the border to Italy's neighboring country, Slovenia. Here we'll be chasing the light for the best photos of scenic landscapes and the most beautiful churches perched on top of idyllic hills or tiny islands. It's a journey through Slovenia, where we captured some of our favorite photos of the year so far. See you in the next one, my friend. Bye!